Well, hello everybody, and welcome to my second time working on my video about joining new colors and weaving in. Before we got there, I wanted to show you what yarn I'm using. So I'm using Leakin' and Lace hand-dyed yarn, and it's a 100 superwash merino fingering, and different colors: ginger snap, citron, teal tide, silver fox, and rhubarb are the colors I've used so far. And I just wanted to show you what I do when I start a new project and I roll my yarn. I take a color and I fasten it to the label, and somewhere else in my studio I have a whole jar that's just all of those. So I'm going to show you first. Here's where I am. I'm at the end of my first two-color row series, and I've cut my yarns, and I'm just about to start new colors. So I'm going to start with this teal color, and I hope that this comes out well. You can see my little table of tools that I have next to me, including an embroidered little pouch that I made some years back. So I start by essentially working my first stitch exactly as I would normally. I knit it, and then when I go to do my second stitch, I take my tail from the previous row, in this case it's rhubarb, and put it between the stitch I'm going to knit and the one I've already knit, and I knit that stitch. I do the same. I take this underneath, between, and up, and knit the next stitch. I do that again, and the trick comes with the next stitch. So again, I'm taking my tail and putting it between the stitch that I just knit and the one that I'm going to knit. I slip my marker and I do it again, but note that my next stitch is going to be a yarn over, so I'm going to work the yarn over and then knit that stitch, and I'm going to do that same thing again where I bring the color from the previous row above, and I'm going to yarn over and knit the next stitch. And then I'm actually going to continue to do that for a few more stitches. So I'm continuing to wrap my yarn from the row below a few more, just so that it's very secure. And then when I've done maybe 3 more, I'm going to knit to my marker. So where I'm going to change colors, which you will note that I moved that marker on the last row of my first 2-color stripe series. So it is now located where I'm changing colors. And of course, we all knit more slowly when we know people are watching us. I'm sorry that I can't zoom in, but I will become increasingly tech savvy, I hope. So when I get to the point where I'm adding a new color, I'm actually going to, so now I'm doing citron, and I hope I can find the end of this pretty easily. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the tail of my citron, and I'm going to wrap the tail on one side of the other color, and then I'm going to leave it like that and knit that first stitch. So I've actually essentially done an intarsia and wrapped that citron around the teal. Now I'm going to take that tail and do what I did before. I'm going to bring that tail up between and under both the blue and the citron now, essentially. And I'm going to knit the next stitch. And now I'm going to leave the blue behind. And I'm just going to take my tail and flip it up. So I am weaving in the end of this citron color as I go. And again, I do maybe 5 or 6 of the wraps. And then I'm going to knit to where from the previous row my 2 colors met. And when I get there, I'm going to actually wrap in my color from the row below right at that point as well. So again, I'm going to work to this. I'm going to essentially work it, just bring this yarn under and over just like I would if I was doing intarsia, just to kind of lock that. And I'm going to knit that first one, and then I'm going to wrap it. So I've locked it, and now I'm going to wrap, wrap, and when I get done with the row, I'll show you what it looks like on the other side. Wrap, wrap, and again, I do that like 4 or 5 times. There's no magic number. You're just trying to make sure that it's secure enough that it won't come undone when you block your piece. And then I'm going to work normally to the end. While I'm sitting here, I'll tell you that the shawl that I have wrapped around my neck is called Simple Lines. I wear something around my neck almost all winter long. It's actually still chilly on my 3rd floor. My studio space is on our 3rd floor, and we're in an old house that does not have very good heat distribution, so it's always chilly up here until it gets to be summer. And so this is Simple Lines. It's made in a yarn that I bought at Loop London called Dye For yarn. And it's a silk and merino combination yarn, blended yarn, and it's really a great feeling. It's a very simple to make shawl with sort of arbitrarily length stripes and a little picot edge. And my sweater is Starboard Rock, which is one of my favorite go-to sweaters. The yarn is skein, which is an Australian yarn, hand dyer, and the color, interestingly, is jersey. I'm going to stop talking about this for a minute because I'm going to show you in case you're having trouble with the knit through back loop. So you just go into the back loop and knit it. And I just do that so that it essentially closes the hole from the yarn over. And I find it a really easy way to do increases without doing the lean to right, lean to left, particularly when it's a garment that is all garter stitch. So I'm going back, and I'm going to work the second row back the same, just very normally, and I'm just going to get you to where my colors meet, because I'm going to also weave in that end. And I'll stop here so you can see how this is just woven, wrapped around. So when you go to block it, I actually leave the tails. I don't clip them off until after I've blocked it, so that the yarn blooms and they're really in good shape. I might need to pull this a little bit to tighten up if there's a little hole there, but that's all I do. So I'm just going to go back, and I'm going back, and then I'll show you on the wrong side what intarsia looks like. We've already done a couple without even really knowing it, but sorry, that's just a tail that got pushed over to the wrong side. So here I am on my intarsia point. I'm going to bring my yarn to the wrong side again, the one that I was working with. And what I'm going to do is I'm always going to take the yarn that I'm picking up from underneath the yarn I just used. And so by always doing it that way, you're just wrapping. So you'll see, here's the wrap from the previous row, here's my yarn from this row, and both of them are going to be hooked together. And when I come back, you can't see it very well, but you can see that you've clipped those two together. And so I'm going to work to the end. And it's important on the wrong side that you remember to bring, so when you come to the point where you're changing two yarns, on the wrong side, you need to finish with the yarn you're using and remember to bring that to the back, and then bring your new yarn underneath that yarn and then bring it forward so that you can knit your next stitch. Again, I have a little tail that got flipped over to the front, so I just moved it back, and I'm coming back up to my knit behind in the through the back loop. So here I am, I've worked 2 rows. I have wrapped in place this leg, and this leg, but I still have the one from my first color, which I'm going to wrap now. So here I am, here's the tail, here's my working yarn. Again, I'm going to work my first stitch just normally, and then I'm going to take my tail and I'm going to bring it between the stitch I just knit and the one I'm about to knit. I'm going to do the same thing again between the stitch I just knit and the one I'm about to knit. And again, I have this issue that I'm going to do a yarn over with it. So I'm going to slip my stitch marker. I'm going to wrap my yarn, and then I'm going to do my yarn over, knit. I'm going to wrap my yarn. I'm going to do a yarn over, knit, and then I'm going to work 3 or 4 stitches where I bring that tail and wrap it. And so now I don't have any loose tails. I've woven them all in. So just because I'm going to work to the point where I have my intarsia, and I'm just about there. So what I was saying before is that I'm wearing Starboard Rock, and the color is actually Jersey, which I thought was very fitting since I live in New Jersey. So here I am again, changing colors. So here's my working yarn. Here's my the new color I'm doing, and I'm going to, as you can see, I'm going to take the yarn underneath my current yarn and knit. So you can see again, I've got it hooked. Whoops. Got it hooked. I'm going to knit. And I don't know whether we'll be able to see it or not. But here, I'm going to turn it over and hopefully you can see. If not here, I'll show you on the link here. But I'll show you over here. See, you've got, it's very easy to see on this. So you've got the rhubarb color and the white color wrapping each other. Very, very clean, sturdy line. Couldn't be any easier. And on the front, it's really a clean line too. All right, I hope this time it worked. Thanks, everybody.